Hello, everyone. Virgo, because I love you. Those four words, placed at the beginning of a confession rather than at the end of one, change everything about what follows. They change the frame. They change what the telling means. They change the specific quality of the courage required to say the next thing, which is not the easy thing, not the comfortable thing, not the thing that protects the speaker while it lands on the listener. The true thing, said precisely because of the love, not despite it. Someone has something to tell you, and they are telling it to you, not hiding it, not managing it into a more favorable version, not constructing the presentation that minimizes the impact on themselves, because the love they carry for you has arrived at the specific and demanding understanding that real love does not withhold the truth, that the deepest form of respect available between two people is honesty, even the honesty that costs something, especially that honesty. Take what is yours today. What resonates, receive it with the full, complex, nothing, simplified quality it deserves. What does not, release it gently. But for those of you who felt something shift when I said, because I love you, who felt the specific weight of a confession framed in love rather than self protection, this reading carries something today that I think you have needed to hear in exactly this form. Let me speak about the confession before I speak about the change, because the confession is the act that matters most, the specific, costly, entirely voluntary act of telling you the truth when the truth was something that could have been hidden, when the hiding would have been easier, when the version of events that did not include this particular truth was available and would have been believed and would have protected the person telling it from the discomfort of your knowing. They chose not to hide it. That choice to tell you rather than to conceal is the first and most significant evidence of the change they are claiming. Because the person they were before would not have made that choice. The person they were before would have managed the information, would have constructed the version that served their own comfort, would have maintained the presentation rather than risk the relationship on the truth of what they did. Soft sigh. The telling is itself the proof. Before the explanation, before the changed behavior that demonstrates the transformation over time, before any of the evidence that will follow, the simple, difficult, entirely unnecessary act of choosing to tell you because love at its most serious cannot coexist with the lie of omission is the first concrete evidence that something is genuinely different. Now hear them, because this voice needs to reach you today in the form closest to how it is actually living in the person carrying it, with all the difficulty and the shame and the genuine love that the telling requires. I went back. I need to say that clearly before anything else, without the softening that makes difficult truths easier for the speaker while leaving the listener with an incomplete picture. I went back to someone from my past, not because what I feel for you is insufficient, it was never insufficient, but because I was carrying something unfinished, something I had not dealt with, honestly, a chapter I had closed without fully reading the last page. And the unfinished quality of it was present in how I showed up for you in ways I may not have fully acknowledged at the time. I thought going back would finish it, would provide the closure that the unfinished chapter had been denying me, would allow me to arrive fully to you without the unresolved thing pulling at the edges of what I was trying to build. I was wrong about the method, right? About the need to finish what was unfinished, but wrong about the method. And what going back actually showed me was not the closure I was seeking. It showed me what I had already found in you. What the comparison, and I am not proud, that comparison was part of what was required, made undeniable. The difference between something I was trying to resolve and something I actually wanted, between the past and the present, between what I was moving away from and what I was moving toward, and what I am moving toward, what I have always been moving toward, even when the movement was not clean, is you. Oh, feel the full complexity of that, because that is not a simple confession. It is the specific, uncomfortable, nothing flattering about it for the speaker honesty of someone who did something that cost you something, who knows it cost you something, and who is telling you anyway because the love they have for you has arrived at the place where the truth is more important than the protection of their own image. Now, I want to speak about the change because it is the other half of this reading and it deserves its own honest attention separate from the confession, evaluated on its own terms, with the specific discernment that a claim of change always requires. Because people claim change. And sometimes the claim is genuine, and sometimes it is the strategic deployment of the language of change to produce a desired outcome without the actual interior work that genuine change requires. And you deserve to know the difference. Ooh, what I feel in the energy of this person, in the specific quality of what they are carrying today, is not the performance of change. It has a different texture from that. The performance of change tends to be smooth, rehearsed, calibrated for the audience. What I feel is rougher than that, more uncomfortable, carrying within it the specific residue of someone who went through something, not just claimed to go through something, and came out the other side with an understanding they did not have before. The understanding is specific, not the vague, I have grown kind of understanding that is easy to claim and impossible to verify. The located kind, an understanding of the specific pattern that produced the behavior of why going back felt necessary and what that necessity was actually about and what the going back revealed about what the necessity was actually serving, which was not the past relationship, was something in them, a quality of unresolved feeling, a relationship with their own history, a specific and previously unexamined pattern of how they have moved through love that needed to be seen clearly before it could be changed. They saw it in the going back, in the specific and uncomfortable experience of returning to something they had idealized in its absence and finding in the return that the idealization was the problem. That what they had been carrying as unfinished was actually finished, had simply not been registered as finished because the ending was not the one the story they had been telling themselves required. And seeing that, really seeing it past the story and into the actual truth of what was there, changed something, the kind of something that does not change back, because it was not a surface shift. It was the specific interior event of a person whose picture of their own history became accurate and who can now move forward from an accurate picture rather than from the idealized one that was producing the pull backward. Soft sigh. Now I want to speak to you, to the person receiving this confession and this claim of change, with the full, honest directness that you deserve. Because you deserve more than the confession. You deserve the accounting of what it cost you. And you deserve the honesty about what trust requires before it can be rebuilt. You are allowed to be hurt, not as performance, actually hurt in the specific, real, this affected me way that the truth of what happened warrants. The confession does not erase the cost, does not make the thing that happened not have happened. It illuminates it, which is different. Illumination gives you accurate information. It does not remove the sting of the thing that needed illuminating. You are also allowed to take time, not to punish. Time taken to punish tends to corrode the person taking it more than it corrects the person being punished. But time taken to honestly assess, to sit with the confession and the claim of change and the love that framed both and arrive from your own interior and your own knowing at a genuine response rather than a reactive one. Time to feel what you actually feel, to locate where you actually stand, to know from the truest available part of yourself what this information means for how you move forward. Because moving forward is the question, not whether the confession was real, it was, not whether the change is genuine, it appears to be, but what you do with both. What your own truth about this person and this connection held in the full light of everything you now know asks of you. Change is real when it is demonstrated, not when it is claimed. The claiming is the beginning, the necessary, courageous, love-driven beginning of a process that only becomes verifiable through time and through the accumulation of moments where the old pattern was available and the new behavior was chosen instead. What you are being given today is the beginning, and the beginning deserves to be evaluated as a beginning, not as proof of what has not yet been proven, but as the first honest step of a journey whose direction may be different from what came before. Watch the steps that follow, not with the vigilant trust is conditional on performance monitoring of someone who has decided in advance what they are looking for. With the grounded, clear-eyed, I will see what is actually there quality of someone who is genuinely present to what unfolds, who gives the change the space to demonstrate itself while remaining fully in possession of their own, knowing about what demonstration looks like versus what performance looks like. You know the difference. You have always known the difference. Because I love you, those 4 words opened this reading, and they are the truest thing in it. The confession was made because of the love. The change was produced by the understanding of what the love requires. The truth was chosen over the comfortable management of it precisely because the love for you has grown past the place where comfort is an acceptable substitute for honesty. That love is real. Whatever you decide to do with the truth of what happened, whatever direction your own honest knowing takes you, the love that produced the telling is real. And real love, love that chooses the difficult truth over the comfortable lie, is worth something, is worth, at minimum, the honest consideration of what it is saying, of what it is asking, of whether what is being offered, the full truth and the genuine change and the love that insisted on both, is something your own heart, in its most honest and least defended place, is willing to receive. Soft sigh. Only you know the answer to that. And only you can arrive at it honestly from the inside of your own truth, rather than from the pressure of the confession or the warmth of the love or the very understandable desire to have the difficult thing be resolved in the most hopeful available direction. Sit with it. Take the time it requires. And when the answer comes from the quiet, from the honest, from the place below the reaction and below the protection, trust it completely, whatever it is. Oof, because that answer, yours, honest, arrived at in full possession of everything you now know, is the only one worth acting on. If this reading found you today, if something here gave language to something you have been receiving or navigating and gave you solid ground to stand on through the complexity of it, stay close. Subscribe and come back, because the story of what love that chooses honesty makes possible whatever direction it leads is one worth witnessing all the way through. And the next reading will be there for every honest step of what comes next.